A multi-billion-dollar company walks into a bar and sees the first beloved Joker movie sitting there all alone, totally successful. It's iconic. "I can't believe you're a success," the company says. "The fans love you, but we love doing unnecessary things. How could we ruin you?" And the first Joker movie says, "You should leave me just as I am." "Perfect," the company says. "How about we force an unwanted sequel and make it a musical?"
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
If you thought that joke was bad, so is the rest of this movie. This movie starts off a few months after the first one, and the whole gist of the movie is that it's the trial of Arthur Fleck. Is he guilty or innocent of his past crimes? And there's also a theme of identity and belonging. For example, who exactly is Arthur? And is he the famous Joker that everyone is protesting for outside of court for some reason? Or is he just a sad, broken man who's ultimately a victim of society? Now, before I sound like a negative Nancy, the film does have one thing working for it. And that one thing that kind of works for the film is how it plays with the idea of being put on a high pedestal versus the actual reality of who you really are, or the actual reality of yourself. In other words, is it the person that's being liked for them, or is it the idea of that person that's being liked? It's kind of like, what we do in real life with celebrities. Do we actually like that person, or do we just like the idea of them because they're famous or they have a higher social status than most people do? But unfortunately, that's where everything that works for the movie ends. Now, what doesn't work for this movie is the fact that it's a musical. I can see what they tried to go for here, but the execution was poorly done. The musical is used to try to heal Arthur's mind and soul, but unfortunately, this just makes the movie's tone and plot feel like it's all over the place. For example, there's a moment or multiple moments where the scene is dark and serious, and you're about to become interested or invested into it. And as soon as you have that feeling of being interested, the movie snaps you out of it as fast as it could, as a character decides to just break out and sing into a song out of nowhere, instead of just simply answering a yes or no question, because we have to have our music in the musical. Now, you could argue that this could work for a Joker movie because Joker is a character whose mind is usually all over the place, but that's not particularly true for this movie. As we seen at the end of the first movie, he knows who he is. He's established in his mindset, at least. Yes, he's crazy, but he's not like having a midlife crisis or anything. He knows exactly who he is. And here they kind of just reduced all of that back to square one. Now, this would work better for a Joker such as the 1960s series Joker that appeared in the Adam West show, or the Joker that appeared in the Batman Brave and the Bold animated series. But for this Joker in this particular world, it doesn't really work because this Joker was already established as such a serious character. So having a musical and having him just break out into songs, or having other characters that's around him do the same thing, it just kind of feels off. Like the movie doesn't want to know what tone is going for. As far as side characters go, they're there, but they don't really contribute anything to the movie. Just like a lot of the dialogue in this movie or scenes, they just happen. They're just there just to pad out the runtime. They don't really contribute anything. And I'll give you an example because this isn't really a spoiler. For example, there's a scene in the beginning of the movie where Joker's just sitting in the prison yard, and one of the inmates goes, "Hey Joker, the guards told me you were really good at kissing. I never kissed anybody before." So, if you have common sense, you could see where that scene is about to go. That scene doesn't come up anywhere else in the film. It's just there. It comes and goes. And it's just making you sit there wondering why. What was the point? So there's a lot of scenes just like that in this movie. And they also don't really contribute to anything as side characters to this movie because Just like in true musical fashion, there's only the two main characters who are singing their song about them, and there are extras in the background. No matter how many people there are in the room, they're just extras, no matter how hard the movie tries to hide it. Also, if you're someone who loves logic and loves super realistic settings, such as those two things from the very first Joker movie, then you'll definitely question this movie a lot when it comes to those two things. For example, there are some characters who get away with way more things than they should in this movie, to the point where it doesn't even make sense. And it's not in a comic book logic way that doesn't make sense, that's come to life. It literally just doesn't make sense because it's poorly written and there's no explanation, and this is just so the movie can get to the next part without putting any real effort into itself. So overall, this movie gets a 2 out of 10 from me. 1 point just for existing, and another point because I gotta admit, some of the shots are really beautifully filmed and shot, and it's a shame that a movie with such beautiful shots and angles and coloring and lighting and really good acting, and you could tell that Joaquin Phoenix is really here for the movie again as he goes all out for it. It's just a shame that we get this poorly executed mess. So that's why it gets a 2 out of 10. It just feels like they made this movie a musical just because Lady Gaga is in it, who's also a musician, if you didn't know. This is the worst decision any movie or company can make. That's like having the Suicide Squad movie or the Bumblebee movie become WWE wrestling main events that you have to go buy tickets to see just because John Cena stars in the movie. Now, that doesn't sound bad right there, but it's really not a good idea at the end of the day. And also, did you know the budget for this movie was $200 million? Yet, nothing really happens in this movie. So, you can tell that all of the budget went to Lady Gaga and her music. So, if you actually really want to see this movie, I suggest you try to save your money and just wait for it to come out on Max or some other streaming website. And with that being said, let me know what you thought in the comment section down below if you did end up being a victim of seeing this movie in theaters. Thankfully, I didn't pay for this movie, so that's the positive part as well. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you can get notified when I make new content. And I'll see you guys in the next video.